Usher is defending the same man his own mother tried to protect him from. And people are saying that decision doesn't just look wrong, it exposes what really happened behind the scenes, because once you hear what he experienced back then, everything hits different.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to
City.
something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
Because this isn't just about Usher speaking out, it's about who he's choosing to stand next to. And according to reports, that's what people are reacting to right now. Because while he's publicly showing respect for Diddy's legacy, others are pointing out the history behind that relationship, and that's where things start getting uncomfortable. Now, none of this has been officially confirmed, but insiders are saying the issue isn't just what Usher said, it's what it represents, because this isn't a random connection. This goes back to when Usher was just a teenager, sent into an environment that even he later described as something he didn't fully understand at the time, and that's where the conversation shifts. Because once you bring that past into the present, his decision to defend Diddy doesn't just sound like an opinion, it starts to feel like something else, something tied to a much deeper history, and if that history is what people think it is, then this isn't just about loyalty, it's about what he's choosing to overlook now. And that's where the timeline starts raising questions. Because according to reports, Usher was sent to live with Diddy when he was just a teenager, around 13, to learn the industry and develop as an artist. But years later in interviews, he described that environment as something he didn't fully understand at the time, mentioning non-stop partying and situations that didn't feel normal for someone that young. Now, none of this has been officially confirmed beyond what he shared publicly. But that alone is enough to make people look at this differently. Because when you take those past statements and compare them to what he's saying now, the contrast is hard to ignore, and that's why people are reacting. Because if someone once described that experience as overwhelming or confusing, then defending the same environment later on starts to raise questions. Not just about loyalty, but about what changed and whether those early experiences had a deeper impact than people realized. And if that's the case, then this situation isn't just about what's being said now. It's about what might have been set in motion back then.
And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
And that's where his mother comes into this. Because according to reports, she didn't just support his career, she stepped in and pulled him out of that environment completely, taking control, canceling deals, and moving him away from Diddy's direct influence when he was still young. And that decision is what people are pointing to now, because it wasn't random, it was a response to what she was seeing at the time. Now, none of this has been officially confirmed beyond public accounts and interviews, but her actions speak for themselves, because she didn't wait, she didn't negotiate, she removed him and rebuilt everything around him, from his image to his career direction. And that's why this moment hits differently, because when you know someone fought that hard to protect you from something, seeing you later defend it raises a different kind of question, not just about loyalty, but about what you chose to go back to once you had the power to decide for yourself. And that's what people are struggling to understand, because if someone protected you from something that early, then going back and defending it later doesn't just look like loyalty, it looks like a shift. And according to reports, that's exactly how this is being read right now. Not as a random opinion, but as a choice. Now, none of this has been officially confirmed, but insiders are saying the reaction isn't just about Diddy, it's about what Usher represents in this moment. Because when someone with that kind of history speaks, it carries weight, especially when it seems to go against what they experienced before. And that's where the conversation gets deeper, because people aren't just asking why he said what he said, they're asking what changed, what made him look at that same situation differently now, and whether that change says more about the present than it does about the past. And if that's the case, then this isn't just about one statement. It's about how someone's entire perspective may have shifted over time.
You were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to see the lifestyle,
Right.
And I saw it, and it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I ain't say that.
Okay.
And if that perspective really shifted, then the question becomes why? Because according to reports, people aren't just looking at what Usher said, they're looking at patterns, who he's aligned with, what he's chosen to speak on, and what he stayed silent about. Now, none of this has been officially confirmed, but insiders are saying this isn't the first time he's been connected to defending controversial figures, and that's what's raising eyebrows. Because when it happens once, it can be an opinion, but when it starts repeating, it feels like a position. And that's where things start to look different. Because instead of reacting to one moment, people start connecting multiple ones. And when those connections start forming, it changes how everything is interpreted, especially when those moments involve serious allegations, public scrutiny, and high-profile names. And if that pattern is what people think it is, then this isn't just about what Usher said. Now, it's about how he's been moving over time. But here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. Because once people start looking at patterns, they start looking at everything. And once people start looking at everything, the focus shifts fast because according to reports, it's no longer just about Usher's recent comments. It's about his past, his interviews, the situations he's been connected to, and how all of it lines up now. Now, none of this has been officially confirmed, but insiders are saying this is where public perception starts changing. Because when multiple moments begin to connect, it creates a bigger picture. And that picture doesn't rely on one statement, it builds over time. And that's what people are reacting to, because instead of seeing isolated incidents, they start seeing a pattern. And once that happens, the questions get harder to ignore, not just about what he's saying now, but about what he's been part of before, and how those experiences may have shaped his decisions today. And if that's what's happening here, then this situation isn't just about one comment, it's about how everything connected to it is being re-examined all at once. But here's what makes this even more complicated, because not everyone is reacting the same way.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there, Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man.
And that's where the reaction starts to split, because according to reports, some people are defending Usher, saying he has a right to his opinion, while others are questioning why that opinion carries weight at all, especially given his past and what he's chosen not to speak on before. Now, none of this has been officially confirmed, but insiders are saying this divide is what's driving the conversation forward, because it's no longer just about Diddy, it's about credibility, about whether someone's voice should influence how situations like this are viewed, and that's where things start to get uncomfortable. Because once people start asking those questions, they don't stop at one topic. They start looking at everything. What has he spoken out on? What has he stayed silent about? What has he addressed? And what has he avoided? And when those answers don't line up clearly, it creates doubt. And if that doubt keeps building, then it shifts how people interpret everything he says, moving forward. But here's where it gets even more serious, because when credibility starts getting questioned, it doesn't stay contained. And once credibility starts getting questioned, it spreads fast. Because according to reports, it doesn't just affect one statement, it affects how everything tied to that person is received. Now, none of this has been officially confirmed, but insiders are saying this is where the real shift happens, because once people start doubting the message, they start questioning the motive behind it, and that changes the entire conversation. Because instead of asking what was said, they start asking why it was said and who it benefits. And that's where things move from opinion into something deeper. Because when a public figure speaks during a moment like this, it's rarely seen as random. It's seen as intentional. And if people believe there's intention behind it, then they start looking at connections, relationships, and history in a completely different way. And once that process starts, it's hard to reverse, because every new statement gets filtered through that same lens. And if that's happening now, then this situation isn't just about Usher's comments, it's about how his voice is being interpreted going forward. But here's what makes this even more important. Because when perception shifts like that, it doesn't just affect one person, it affects everyone connected to the same conversation.
And what kind, do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem. You know, I had like, you know,
What
like
a
a living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
And when it starts affecting everyone connected to the same conversation, that's when things really shift, because according to reports, this doesn't stay centered on one person for long. It spreads to everyone in that circle, everyone who speaks, everyone who stays silent, everyone who chooses a side or avoids choosing one. Now, none of this has been officially confirmed, but insiders are saying this is how narratives change. Not all at once, but piece by piece, as people react, adjust. and reposition in real time, and that's what seems to be happening now. Because once one voice draws attention, others are forced to respond, whether they want to or not. And those responses start shaping how the entire situation is understood. And if those responses don't align or raise more questions, then the focus only intensifies, and that's where things move beyond a single moment and into something ongoing, something that keeps evolving as more people get pulled into it. And if that's the direction this is heading, then what we're seeing now might not be the peak. It might just be the beginning of a much larger shift. And if this is just the beginning, then the real impact hasn't even hit yet, because according to reports, moments like this don't just fade, they build, they bring more attention, more scrutiny, and more pressure across everyone connected. Now, none of this has been officially confirmed, but insiders are saying this is when things start moving behind the scenes, conversations change, alignments shift, and people start deciding where they stand before anything becomes official. And that's where the situation gets unpredictable, because not everyone reacts the same way under pressure. Some double down, some step back, and some stay completely silent, hoping it passes. But when the focus is already locked in, it rarely does. It just keeps expanding, pulling in more context, more history, more connections. And if that's happening now, then this isn't just about Usher's comments anymore. It's about how this entire situation is unfolding in real time. But here's what stands out the most. Because through all of this, one thing hasn't changed. The past is still part of the conversation.
Faith Evans,
And your parents
Jodeci,
were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige, they didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time, you know what I mean?
And that past is exactly why this situation isn't going away. Because according to reports, no matter how much the conversation shifts, it keeps circling back to the same question: what really happened back then, and why does it still seem to matter now? Now, none of this has been officially confirmed, but the connection between what Usher experienced, what his mother tried to protect him from, and what he's choosing to defend today is what's driving the reaction. Because when those pieces don't align, it creates tension, and that tension keeps people watching, questioning, and looking deeper. And if that continues, then this won't just be about one statement, it'll be about how everything connected to it is understood moving forward. Because once perception starts shifting, it doesn't just reset, it evolves. And if that evolution is already happening, then this story is far from over, it's just entering a new phase. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, because the more people look at this situation, the more questions it raises about what's really going on behind the scenes.